What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good day, good day, good day. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for another episode of Stack-A-Lector. Good evening, Tiger. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Frosty. How you doing?
Doing well. Trying to stay in trouble. Out of trouble. You know how
That
that
sounds
goes.
about like I would do.
Oh, let's say hi to everybody for a minute. I did, for those of you looking in vertical mode, if you look at the pinned message, there is a horizontal mode if you want to come to the widescreen side of things. You're more than welcome to do so. That has been pinned in chat. So let's go ahead and do a quick how do you do, Nana Stacks. How are you, my friend? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. Littlefoot, good day. Hope you're doing very well. Nice to see you here. David Carlisle. David Carlisle and Nana have both found horizontal mode. Good to see that. Hope you all are doing very well. Dan McCumber, what's up, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for coming in today. We've got a good show for you guys. I think you're going to like what we have to show you. Again, if you're brand new here, consider hitting that thumbs up. Listen to a little bit of the content if you like it. Then do me a favor, hit the subscribe. But don't just hit the subscribe to my channel. Go check out Tiger Stacker and make sure you're subscribing to him as well. All right. So what's your day been like, Tiger?
Oh, it's been interesting. The washing machine finally died on us. We had to go get a new one. And since she likes to do lots and lots of laundry after every exposure that cloth has to dogs, we bought a bigger washer and dryer than what I had before. So that's been one of our real treats. And the new job has wanted me to do more and more computer things. And of course, they don't ever call me when I tell them to call me, so I'm waiting for them to call me after I get some things done in the next few days. I'm enjoying being home instead of being at one of the hospitals. So, just typical life in the life of an ER doctor.
Yeah, I was waiting for the joke when you said your dishwasher uh, broke. I was said you went and got a new one. I was going to say, what's her name? But I figured that would probably not be very viewers, even though I just said the joke.
You didn't hear it, did you?
Hear what? Oh, yeah, no, I didn't hear that. William E. OC Stacker, both in the house. Good day. Hope you guys are doing very well. Barbara Wall, hey, I hope, speaking of Texas, let's do this. In the news, there have been some pretty kind of bum things that have happened in the news. One of them, I'm going to ask for everybody to keep their minds and their hearts open. There's been a lot of passing lately due to some situations with flooding, not only in Texas over last weekend, but now in New Mexico. We just got word that one of our coworkers that works in one of the facilities that we manage, um, both of his kids passed away in the New Mexico flood. And there's been a lot of loss of life, a lot of loss of property. And again, looking at what happened in Kerrville and Waco and some of the areas up in central Texas last week, lots and lots of families are having a tough time. So, as a community, I would like you to do me a favor and just take a moment, offer up a word of prayer for the people that have suffered and lost. There are lots of people who have lost their entire livelihoods, as well as family members. The camp where those girls were at, so far, the number is outrageous at the net loss of life. So, huge prayers to them, just from one community to another. We want you to know that we're thinking and praying for. It's really important that people understand that this isn't just distant people. We have people that are involved in this. Um, wanted to make sure that people kind of are aware of what's happening there.
It's a shame.
William E., that's highly unlikely. I mean, there's no way. For one reason, um, the amount of water that's happened. Yeah, I don't know of anybody who would cloud seed. Um, I just don't see that happening. Volume is low. Let me check my volume. How's that? Hopefully that's a little bit better.
Wow! Ow! No, no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But yeah, I highly doubt that. Again, remember, folks, there's always conspiracy theory out there. Now, Dubai's a little bit different. Remember, Dubai actually pays people to do this, but it's very unlikely in Central Texas that they would have um, seeded during the midst of a significant storm. Um, I just don't see it. I really don't. But again, conspiracy theorists, you guys do your thing. I have a tendency not to think that that's the issue. It's a really easy answer. It's easy to blame somebody else for something like that. But again, it's just one of those things that I don't subscribe to that theory. But it's everybody else gets make up their own mind. That's what's cool about this area, right? I just don't want to sit and blame loss of life on a man-made event. I just don't think that that's the case. So I'm not going to get too much more engaged in that discussion. There are other channels if you want to have that discussion, you can go do so. I'm more concerned about praying for the families who lost kids. Again, I have a coworker who, military member, him and his wife are at Brooke Army Medical Center, near death. His wife's probably not going to make it. He's in critical condition. Both their kids have passed. And so to get engaged in a conversation about their lives versus seeding, I just don't see how that's respectful. So I won't talk about it. Not anymore. All right. But so there are a lot of things going on. So anyway, keep those folks in prayer. It's very important. Because again, that is a great segue into what happens today. So we're going to go ahead and flash this. The topic of the day. So the topic of the day is, what do you do? How do you liquidate your numismatics? So Tiger, first off, what is liquidation? When we talk about being liquid, we're not talking about turning into water. What are we talking about?
We're talking about turning this stuff into fiat currency so that you can use the government fiat currency to pay what you need to pay. I wouldn't recommend liquidating it so you can keep the fiat dollars. I'd recommend you liquidating for the purpose of paying your bills, paying off something that you want to pay off for whatever reason, your house, your cars, maybe a credit card if you're fighting that with that battle, something that needs to be handled, an emergency, tree falls on your roof and you got to get it fixed, that type of thing. So that would be the liquidation that would be most important to me and maybe other people as well.
Yeah, so Matt, there's other kinds of preparedness. You don't want to store those in your wallet or in your car. We also talk about stacking of the other precious metal. Now, we're not going to be talking about stacking today. We're going to be focusing on the numismatics. And the reason that we're focusing on the numismatics is the ability for you to liquidate numismatics is a lot more difficult than it is for you to liquidate or turn liquid something like a 5-ounce silver bar or a 10-ounce silver bar. And so, yeah, so Barbara, you're leading right into what I'm going to ask. And this is something for chat. This is something that everybody can engage in. When we talk about assets, when we talk about things that you might need to liquidate for in a hurry, I'd like some people just to put in some examples in chat. We're going to talk about a number of these. Sometimes you have time for them. Other times you don't. We looked at what was in the news today. We talked about massive flooding These people have lost everything. Houses has been swept away. They may have even lost their stacks, right? Lost their levels of protection. So in those types of situations, how do you do that, right? And so it's important, especially when you're looking at things from the numismatic end. This is one of the chief complaints about stackers is that numismatics are hard to liquidate. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why that can be and why it shouldn't be the case. And we're going to kind of dig into this. Now, many of you know that I'm of the Stack-A-Lector. I'm more the numismatic side, the numismatist, the study of coins and the history, and that end where Tiger's more stacking and preparedness, the prepper style. But today we're going to kind of blend on his example of SHTF. We're going to go over a little bit of that. Medical costs. But again, so yeah, let's get in here. Okay. So what are some other reasons that you might need to liquidate your stuff in a hurry? So go ahead and be putting that in chat. Tiger, while they're putting that in chat, why don't you remind everybody just really, really briefly about your personal SHTF and what happened. Hot water heater. Yeah. Those things again, right? Especially if you have to pay for plumbing, that's a couple grand. And those things, they just happen, right? You wake up one morning to no hot water, or man, God forbid, something like your AC. So Matt T, that's going to be part of the discussion. So you're right on line with where we're going. So Tiger, why don't you talk a little bit about your personal SHTF situation?
Okay.
Now, obviously, we know that you were able to sell some silver and stuff to take care of yourself. But why don't you remind people of that situation?
Okay. September last year, I was working about 2 months straight almost every day because the employer couldn't find someone and is pretty good at gaslighting me into working more and more and more. At the end of that run, sorry, I've been fighting off an allergy. Anyway, so basically, I missed work. The doctor called me. I thought it was one day before, it was the day of. I barely got there. And as I was walking there, I couldn't walk anymore. My battery is dead. They wheeled me in. I had 102 fever. My blood pressure was non-existent. I had a white count that was pretty high. My left leg had developed an infection that didn't show until later in the ER. And I was put in the hospital for 11 days, 6 of which I was in the ICU. And I thought it was 3 days because my memory was gone because of the sepsis. It's a really bad issue. And they fluid overloaded me because when you have sepsis and you have someone who's not skinny, you got to base their resuscitation weight on their ideal body weight, not their actual weight. So a lot of that extra fluid went into my infected left leg because the tissue was bad and stayed there, causing a slower time of healing because of trying to get it out and trying to be able to ambulate, plus deconditioning from the sepsis. So I had approximately 1 month or so of no work, but you always have to wait for your employed time to be paid. So basically 2 months without pay. At that time, I realized my best asset was my metals. And watching the spot prices, I saw that gold was going up with very little variability, and it was continuing, where silver had more volatility. So I had a choice to which metal to sell. And I sold as many of the big pieces of silver as I could to try to get the least amount of hard work to do in my spreadsheet. The more small pieces you sell, the more I have to enter in my spreadsheet. The more big pieces I sell, the less I have to put in my spreadsheet. Nonetheless, being that I sold at my pawn shop, it was the same price per ounce no matter what. So I tried to sell as much as I could to get through paying my bills. Sad to see it all go, but knew that I was grateful because the previous years I had not been a saver, and I probably would have been SOL. So I chose silver to sell because of the volatility of it. I had a better chance at buying back close or at the price that I sold it for, which I did not think gold was because it was still just going pretty much straight up. So that's what I did. And the second time I got sepsis wasn't nearly as bad, but I repeated the process so that I can make sure that my bills were met. I labeled that personal SHTF and did a video on it for all of you to watch if you would be so kind as to go watch it. And basically, I was grateful I had it. If it would have been just strictly collectibles, I would have taken a serious bath on it. This right here is a stacker. These stackers are very beautiful. They're very hard to make. Trust me, with my level of pouring, I've appreciated what people can do with this. But you're looking at $145 for 2 ounces of silver. There's no way in hell I'm going to get that back, especially quickly. I could put it on the market, learn how to do eBay, learn how to get things done. That would be a learning curve and take a longer amount of time. But I didn't have time. I had bills coming. I needed to do it quickly, and I took a good bit of a bath. But the bath was worth it, as opposed to paying higher rates for missing things, such as missing credit card payments or missing a car payment, missing a house payment, because all those come with penalties. And I was grateful. Sad to see it go, but grateful I had it to sell and pay the bills. So personal SHTF, we might have global ones too. That we've talked about that a few times, haven't we, Frosty?
Yeah, and again, fortunate in that situation, and I'm reading chat and seeing a number of reasons that you might need to do that, and I'll go over those here in just a second. Fortunately, he had it, right? And that's one of those things. This is the primary tenet of a stacker, the primary purpose of somebody who does stacking. However, a collector may not be as soluble. They may not be able to liquidate it as fast. And so Tiger was fortunate in the fact that he was a stacker and he had that. But what do you do as a numismatist? What do you do as a collector? And so this is what we're going to talk about today. So what I want to do is I first want to go over a couple of these things. Nana had to buy a refrigerator of $1,300, and she had to sell a bunch of silver coins and rounds. Unfortunately, a refrigerator is one of those things. When it goes bad, you need to replace it fairly quickly, right? So you're looking at time being minimal. So we'll be looking. I've got a chart that I'm going to show you. I put together. I haven't proofread it all the way through. I was trying to generate it. There may be some misspellings or misspeakings in it. I'll have to fix those later on before I give it to you guys. But we'll look at how fast you sell it versus your rate of return. That's going to be very important. Looking at Space Miner, FG Stacker says Space Miner sold off a bulk of a stack to take advantage of buying opportunity for land. Really important. If you have an opportunity to do something like that, you need to be able to liquidate. That one is a little bit slower. You have a little bit more time in that particular one. When you're looking at some of these items like medical charges or medical bills, or maybe you have to pay a quick procedure. I've seen somebody said, we'll have an emergency credit card. Not everybody can do that and only use it for emergencies, right? But if you are a collector, and if you have coins and you run into a situation where you're in trouble and you've got to turn it over, what kind of things do you need to have in place? And so who's going to pay me 10 or 12K for my, well, again, that is extremely important when you're looking at some of these things to go through. So I'm going to go through a couple of these items, and some of these are very, well, David Carlisle, medical bills can wait. In many cases, yes. Okay. In many cases, you can work with people and pay bills, and and do stuff like that. But there are certain types of procedures, and there are physicians who won't take you unless they get some of their payment, especially with a no insurance. It's a sad fact that not everybody lives near a university hospital, and sometimes there are people that just won't see you unless you have the money to liquidate.
Well, if I may jump in on that, Frosty, I used to own my own family practice years ago. No one owned it but me. I started it on a loan. I was paying on the loan for the building and the equipment and all that. And I needed to be able to pay my staff. And especially early on, I had to work extra at ERs, urgent care centers. Every one of those paychecks went into my business to pay my employees so that I didn't have to continually take out more money on a loan.
Yeah.
When you had patients that came in and they didn't want, they tried to not pay their co-pays and all that, that all adds up. Even with the Medicaid people I think their copay was like $1 or $3 a visit. I had one lady that had over $3,000 in unpaid copays that I could have used to pay bills with, and then she got mad because I turned her into collections after like exceeded 3,000. The point I'm trying to make is there's no such thing as a free lunch. Everybody has to pay something for something, and if you have a big hospital, yeah, you can make monthly payments. But if you're in small town America and you have a small town doctor who's making it only on what he earns, because insurance companies really are not very kind to single doctor offices. They walk all over them, big bullies, and they have to make it too.
Yeah, Barbara Wall just said locally CT scans are cash up front without insurance. So again, medical bills are not always pay later, right? And this is something that, most of us are fortunate. Most of us have insurance. We work with a place that has some sort of insurance where we have the opportunity to work with, but not everybody does. And there are, you look at Medicaid, Medicare, and some of these things. Sometimes if you utilize your insurance on a very specific item, they won't even cover it the next time. They won't even touch it the secondary time. So the next time you're on your own. And so you do have to be very carefully. Now, here in the U.S., it's totally different. Gold Maple's talking about, the physicians in Canada and some of the other things that are there. What's extremely important is remembering that members in our community come from all walks of life and all different countries. And so it's really easy to say, well, this is the situation. Unfortunately, that just doesn't apply to some people. And so the lessons that I'm going to give you right now are going to apply to everybody. These are things that everybody can and should do when you have a numismatic stack. Okay, and I'm going to say stack because we collect sometimes very collectible items, whether it be pre-33 or things of that nature. And it's very, very important to understand what you have. So one of the basic things, one of the bottom lines up front, as we always call it, is what's the cardinal rule, Tiger, in numismatics? Never do what?
Never fall for FOMO.
No, coins. Come on, dude. I gave you the script. I mean, come on. Never do what? Never clean your coins.
Do not clean your coins.
Yeah, never clean your coins, right? Obviously, if you're going to be selling stuff, don't take your dull stuff and try to shiny it up and make it pretty. Okay, number one rule of thumb: leave your surfaces as they are. Never clean your coins. Now, this is one of those things people are like, well, it's my coin, I'll sell it. Well, you can lose, in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars by cleaning your coin. Silver Seeker did a discussion not too long ago about a really nice coin that was like $400 or $500 that if it hadn't been cleaned would be worth, 10 grand. And so don't ever clean your coins. Number one rule, right? Understand what you have. Make sure you handle the coin properly. Make sure you're touching the edges. Don't touch the surfaces. If you have to, wear gloves. Just make sure your gloves are clean. There's the basic strategies, the basic 101 of coin collecting. But the most important thing, and this is different for stackers, this is why we're not including the stacking end of this in this particular conversation. This is for the coin collector. You need to understand what you have. Now, one thing that Tiger does very, very well in both his stack and his collecting side is he keeps a very detailed list. If you look at the coin that's on my thing, you'll see here September 2nd, 2024 for $339.99 from AppMex, this coin was purchased. This is how Tiger labels all of his goods. Why is that? Well, because he knows exactly how much he paid for it and he knows where he got it. And so at a quick glance, somebody can go through one of his items and look at it and go, oh, he paid $339 for this. Doesn't mean that's what it's worth now, but now you have a starting point. And you need to have that starting point. You need to have a fair understanding of what the potential value of that is. Now, when we're talking potential value, I want to dispel a myth. Many of you hear this, many of you say it, many of you believe it. I wanted to dispel it. A coin's value is not what you're willing to pay for it. That is a lie. It is a lie that is told to you by people who sell coins to get you to spend more money with them. The value of a coin is what other people will buy it from you for. Doesn't matter that you're willing to spend $1,200 for it. If you can only sell it for $55, that coin's only worth $55. What you spent was 15 grand, but that coin is only worth 55. So remember, when you're looking at that, it's what other people are willing to buy it for. Okay. Now you can say, well, we looked at the auction price and the high price of this was $5.99. Outstanding. Great. But the average on that, this is number 2, take an average consensus of the coins that have sold and find a median range. Why? Well, because in finding a median range, it's going to give you the opportunity to find a fair value. Fair value for who? Fair for you and fair for the person that's buying it. Okay, so that's going to be really important. The next one, this is extremely important, folks, and if you're not writing this down, I ask that you write this one down and you put it with your collection. Identify people, individuals. Now, for me, I know that if I'm selling certain items, I'm going to very specific people. I know that if I'm going to be selling a very expensive numismatic item, I'm going to be reaching out to Harlan J. Burke. It's a coin shop. I'm going to be reaching out to Mike and Matt of the Coin Show podcast. I'm going to reaching out to people like Paula Bloom and saying, hey, let's talk about this. Let's see if there's an error or variety in this. What do I need to do? She has a lot of contacts in that. Know your network, right? That's the next important thing. You're also going to want to make sure that you have the telephone numbers of these people and you know what their availability to purchase is. Just because they collect it doesn't mean that they will have the funds available to you should a situation occur. So find people. This is where having a good relationship with a dealer is very important. Sometimes you might get somebody, for instance, and I'm just going to use you, Tiger, because you and I are friends. Let's say that Tiger's, yeah, I know. Let's say Tiger's in a position and I call him, I'm like, hey, we'll use Nana Stack. She has to buy a refrigerator. I got $2,000. I've got, basically an ounce of gold here. Pre-33. It's these 8 coins. Would you be willing to buy these from me? Well, you might find people who will take them on collateral, and then you can have the potential to buy it back. You may have to find people that buy it straight out. But what you need to do is you need to keep a list of those people and their contact information and provide that to your significant others so that in the case of an emergency or you end up in the hospital unwilling or unable to talk, there are people who can go to bat for you and start doing stuff. And you know that those people are going to be fair and honest with you. Okay. This happens also. This is something that's a really good thing to do. And you talk about your death letter, Tiger,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right? And I think you're going to be doing another video on that here shortly.
Yes,
Um,
I'm on it.
yeah. And so make sure you put those contacts in a place and put that with your stack, put that with your list. So that in a case of an emergency, you have people who are reliable who you can get a hold of, or your family can get a hold of and say, hey, we're in a situation, Frosty's in the hospital. I've got to raise $5,000 really quickly. Here's some of the things that he has. Can you connect me with somebody who can do this? Right? So it's important to have that information readily available. Talk with some people. Now, there's a couple people who are in chat that I would call out, like Ashes. There are certain coins that if I knew Ashes was interested in, I'm going to use my commemorative coin series. Then it's like, hey, reach out to Ashes, because if Ashes doesn't want it, he has a coin shop that might. And I know that they have really great relationships. You might be able to capitalize on that relationship, that friendship, and then be able to do that. Mark Lewis, liking foreign coins, right? Again, find people who like foreign coins. If I want to know something about a foreign coin, I'm going to be reaching out to somebody like Amanda from Livecoin Q&A and be saying, hey, in the case of this, would you mind walking through and giving me some examples of some places that are there? Tiger would be a great resource. Yankee Stacker would be a great resource. Yankee Stacker, I don't know if you know this, has a coin shop slash sell distribution list of people from various states that have been worked over the years. And if you run into a situation, he's vetted a lot of those, talked with a number of them. The people that have given them, he's worked with the people. He has something like that available to him. Having relationships with other people in the community is extremely important. And this is why you'll always hear me. The number one thing that you can do as a stacker or as a collector is have and maintain a good network. But your network is only as good as it's documented, not for you, but for other people who may need to jump in your stead. Now, Tiger talked a little while ago about something extremely important, and that was his personal SHTF situation. I didn't get a hold of him for a couple days. Tiger and I talk a lot, and I wasn't able to get a hold of him. He wasn't answering his phone. He wasn't responding to texts. I even went on one of his videos, and he checks his videos quite frequently, and he wasn't responding. I knew something was wrong. Called the hotel, told them what was going on. They checked the room. Stuff is there. We've got a problem. Need to find out what's going on. The hotel obviously couldn't give me information because I wasn't approved. I couldn't discuss that with them. I wasn't on the list of approved people to talk to.
They didn't know either.
Huh?
Early on, they didn't know either.
Yeah, well, but my point is there was no communication, there was no anything. We had no way to know who to get a hold of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having these emergency contacts, having these people that you can get a hold of, having these people, if you're going to be traveling or you're going to be doing stuff like that, it's important to have those trusted sources. But you also want to have another list specifically for the liquidation of stuff in the case of emergencies. And this is one of the most important offers that I can give you is have those people doing this. Now, once you have those people, and let's say that I'm going to go back to utilizing Ashes. Ashes is a friend of mine. I know he likes numismatics, does a lot of collecting. He's always bothering me and telling me how cool some of his coins are. Hey, Frosty, look at this. Look what I got for my collection. No, I'm just kidding. He's really cool and find some amazing coins. But let's say he's my POC for some of this. He's somebody that I'm going to go to, and he's my point of contact. And what I have to be willing to understand, what I have to have in my mind is what is a fair price? Why is that important? Well, number one, he's a buddy of mine, and he's going to give me what he thinks is fair value. Now, as my friend, he might give me a little bit more, and he might not. So why is that important? Well, it goes back to something that we mentioned here, and I'm going to share my screen really quick. And this is something that I've built. I'm building this for you. I'm not quite done yet. You'll see that this is my attempt at doing HTML, so bear with me if it doesn't display totally correctly. But this is the various channels and the comparisons, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And this is just a little website that I have a file that I'm working on, and eventually I'll take all of this stuff and I'll make it available to all of you. But this is a channel comparison. What do you mean by channel? Well, it's looking at, are you talking about dealing with the dealer? In this case, it's a Boolean buyer. It could be your friend. It could be somebody in the community, or online auction. Now, I know that somebody said earlier that an online auction was something that was going to be very important, but it takes time. And you were exactly right. So if you look at the far right, when you look at the speed, you're going to be looking at this particular one. You know, it's going to take you a long time in many cases to get your coin to auction, have them review it, put your lots up, allow for that time for that auction to go through, and then sell it. Now, number one, there's no guarantee you'll sell it in an auction, but your rate of return is going to be much, much higher than it's going to be if you go to a local dealer and you're getting, you know, your standard price for it. Or if you have like, you know, collectible, and again, I use this in the Boolean sense. If you're taking your numismatic pre-33 gold, they may not care that it's a 1925D gold Indian. They may not care about that. They may just say, we'll give you $4 above spot, right? And so you've got to understand what the buying premise, what the selling and buying premise of your bullion, your coin shops, as well as dealers. So you need to do research ahead of time. You need to understand what the potential trade-off here is for speed. When you have to sell something fast, you need to have good, solid, reputable people in your back pocket that you can go to that you know will give you a fair deal. Because if you have to sell it quickly, odds are you're not going to be getting top dollar for those particular items. Now, I'm going to split this into a three-way screen, and I want Tiger to pull up his stacker at the very bottom, and we look at high-priced collectible items. Tiger, if you can grab that.
This one?
Yep, and lift that up. Somebody may not buy this for the 75 or 80 bucks that you, what did you be? 145. Okay. 2 ounces, 3 ounces, whatever it might be. You may not even get anywhere near close, right? That's what Tiger called for earlier. However, if you have somebody who runs an auction or does something like that, then it's different. And this is why the next conversation Tiger's going to do, and he's showing his silver bar, is why you stack silver and gold, why you stack platinum and palladium, or if Neil is here, osmium, right? That's why you have those certain things. It's because some things are more liquid than others. But again, it's very, very important that not only do you understand the channel that you're going to be utilizing, but you understand that trade-off. Sometimes fast isn't going to yield that high dollar amount, which means you're going to have to sell more to equal out what it is that you might need. Have these things in mind. Have a point where, again, there was something, I think it was OC Stacker earlier, that was talking about, you know, get it ready to walk away from a deal, right? And I don't know if he mentioned it in this one, if it was before, but you want to always be willing to walk away from a deal. And this goes into the next thing. And the next thing that is very important is that when you get a seller and when you're going through those particular items, there's a couple things you really, really, really want to do. And again, I'm creating, oh, I don't know, I just unshared that. That was kind of dumb. Sorry.
You gotta be willing to be a hard, how do I say this? It doesn't matter if you're dealing with money or metals or whatever. You got to be willing to be hard when someone's being hard with you. You know, and if I just told one of my employees, fine, I'm not going to work because they were playing this little game about if you don't this, we're not paying you. Fine, I won't show up to work. All of a sudden, what? Huh? Now they're willing to talk. the bottom line is sometimes you're going to have to be willing to take a little bit of a time hit when you're dealing with someone who's being ridiculous. And that's especially when you're selling. Now, in the case when I sold for SHTF, I didn't have that option. But then on the other side of the coin, I knew what I was dealing with when I was dealing with Chevella. Chevella buys less than maybe other places in the country, but she sells less than other places in the country. So that savings gets passed on to the purchaser. And in my case, I sold a lot of my not numismatic but collectibles, like my animal coins, simply because I realized that under SHTF I'm going to take a worse hit. So knowing that I sold those a good bit, I was willing to go into buying more regular bullion that under a real SHTF I wouldn't have to play that card anymore. It was a strategic retreat for me. So that's how I played that card. Although I did sell a lot of 10-ounce bars and a couple kilos and things like that.
Yeah, and again, when you're looking at that, it goes to relationship, right?
Exactly.
You have a great relationship with somebody, and this is why it's important to cultivate good relationships with members of the community and people. And again, I want to be very clear about this. Okay, Tiger and I are good friends. We talk about a lot of stuff. We have a lot of similarities in history. We have a lot of difference in history as well. But as a friend of mine, I'm not going to task him to go to the bank just to take care of me. I'm going to offer him fair and equitable trades. I'm going to give him reasonable deals. And I know that he would not expect anything else of me. And so when you're in a situation where you need money quick, your better friends are sometimes are not going to be the people you want to go to because you may have to work a hard deal. And it doesn't mean that your friends won't stand beside you in that time frame and support you. They absolutely will. But you got to be willing to do a couple things. And I've got a little kind of process flow here. I'm still working on this. There's a couple things that I want to do. But number one, if you're going to be talking with people, state exactly what's going on, right? Tell them straight. We always use in our dealings with military hospitals or things like that, it's called the bluff, the bottom line up front. What's the situation? Be clear. Just no BS, no fluff. Just tell it like it is. Hey, you know what? I have to have a procedure. I need $850 so that I can get my MRI. All right. I've got to sell my numismatic coins in order to raise that money, trying to find some people to buy some of that stuff. What can you help me with? Okay, number two here is watch the buyer examine the coins. Folks, I don't care how good of a friend they are or how much you know a coin shop. Don't leave your stuff with them and leave, right? Have them look at it there. If they say they need some time, then have them look at it and take it with you. Why do I say this? Because there are some unscrupulous people out there. And you might have a good relationship with people. Unfortunately, the opportunity sometimes makes people question their integrity. Right? So don't put somebody in a situation where you have to go back and go, oh my God, that's not my coin. Don't ever put yourself into a situation. Don't leave your coins with somebody. Number one, ask for a breakdown of the offer. When they give you an offer for their entire lot, ask them what it's worth. Make sure that they're not missing something extremely important. Understand what they're offering you for, because you may be like, nope, that's a deal breaker for that particular coin. I know, for instance, I was showing this Nikola Tesla coin. I know that this is at least a $300 coin, and you're putting your bid that you'll give me $75 for it. Sorry, not going to happen. I'm taking that coin back. You can take that $50 out of your bid. Make sure you understand the breakdown of those particular coins. Next, if time allows, get a second opinion. You'll hear this from all the major stackers, all the major channels who sell. Don't go to a single source. Cultivate many options. Options are going to be your best friend when you need to raise money for a situation like this, right? So talk to a number of people. Sometimes you can, yeah, I know, David Carlisle. But again, even honest people, right? Complacency and opportunity breed contempt and will challenge a person's integrity. So don't put yourself or don't put somebody else in that situation. Never leave your coin, your silver, your gold, or your jewelry, ladies. Never leave your jewelry and then leave the store and come back and let them, you know what I mean? Stay there in the store while they clean it. They'll say, well, it'll be ready in an hour. No, clean it for me now. If you can't deal with it in an hour, I'll come back, especially if you have valuable items. Also, if you have jewelry and you have really nice, expensive gemstones, go get it laser engraved. It's extremely important. The last one and the most important thing as we kind of wrap this up is be realistic. Have a realistic expectation, right? Know the value of your items. Know what you're willing to sell them for. And if they give you fair and equitable trade, consider it. But remember, you have the opportunity at any time to walk away. Even though you're in an emergency situation, it doesn't mean you can't walk away. A good friend of mine called me and said, hey, I have a bunch of collection. My dad, I need to sell it. We have some things we need to do. Their coin shop offered him about $3,800. I went through some of the stuff, took him to 2 different coin shops here and got him almost $6,000, $6,200. Be willing to take a little bit of time and walk away from a deal if it's not what you think it's worth. That is going to save you a lot in the long term. It may cost you a little bit here and there, but in the long term, it will save you tons of money or make you tons of money. So be very, very careful with that. Tiger, is there anything else that you would like to add in relation to this?
Yeah, although I don't know why my screen went blank on you. But basically,
You don't know why we're what?
My screen's blank.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Unshare your camera and do it again.
Unshare the camera. Okay. Okay. Took it back on still. But basically, what my take on the whole thing is that you're going to have to be able to trust who you got and what you're dealing with. There we go. My next death letter, which is well over 2 years old, and it certainly needs re-upped. I'm going to be including you, Frosty, and one of the many people. I'm going to let the wife know who to contact, because you will know what things are worth, and I don't think you'll take advantage of her. And it's one of the reasons why I also got rid of a lot of semi-numismatic peace dollars with you, because I know she's not going to pay attention to it. You got to trust who you're dealing with. It's a relationship thing that you talked about. I have every intention on asking you to introduce me to Harlan J. Burke people, so that if my wife has some numismatic stuff, she can contact them and roll from there. Not so much for any other reason than I need her to be able to know how to liquidate it all possible. Her business is small. It will not sustain her. I need her to be able to maintain, and while she's maintaining, grow in her business, so that because I have a feeling she's going to kick it once I'm dead. I think she enjoys being the housewife. But basically, long story made short, is you gotta be willing to learn what needs to be done, and you gotta be willing to let your loved ones know what they need to do when you're gone. Because when you're pushing up pedals, you can't help them. It's done. The fat lady has sung and gone to bed, and you got to take, and you now have everything that you've done is done, and the only thing left might be the letter, and that's the only last bit of communication you have left is your will and any typed or written documents to tell your loved one, hey, you didn't listen to me when I was alive. This is my last ditch effort. This is what you do to take care of yourself because I'm gone and we're not coming back. So
yeah, and again, it's very important to document, right? You should have contact lists and update your contact list frequently. Excuse me. As my progress through collecting and stuff has changed, the people that I would go to buy, sell, and trade have changed dramatically. As I've built different relationships and found people that are closer to me, found people who are more in the same wheelhouse that I am. As I've built different connections and found different dealers or different coin shops or establish different relationships, the people that I would go to will wax and wane. It'll change. And so make sure you're updating your lists. The other thing is have multiple resources of people based on the element that you're looking at. So if you are a stacker, you want to make sure that you surround yourself with people who understand bullion and can get you good deals in that. But in numismatics, you want to make sure you get people who really understand varieties and errors. If I have varieties and errors, I'm putting all those in a bundle and saying, contact Paula about these. If I am looking at high-end items that are of a historic nature, I'm reaching out to Matt and Mike and saying, hey, I need your help with helping my wife do these things. Would you be willing, in the case of a situation where I'm either unable to speak or unable to do this, would you be willing to work with her and help me coordinate some stuff? And talk to those people about this. Build those relationships. Establish those lines of defense, because if you don't, you can't expect them to do that when the time happens. Build those relationships ahead of time and make sure that those lines of communication are established. And you'll find that you're better suited for that.
That's true.
Matt, Gold Maple, my grandpa is from New Johnson's. Oh, nice. So Gerard Free, talking about Tim Meshner, some great places that you can buy. I've listed Harlan J. Burke. Again, you see Matt or Mike come up from all the time when you look at Matt and Mike. Mike has his own shop, right? So again, establish connections. I know that if I have peace dollars or ancients, and I'm looking for somebody to help me with that, Pedro's here, right? And so I know that Pedro loves his 1921 peace dollars. I may take my peace dollar collection and write, vote for Pedro and say, hey, in case of this, get a hold of this guy. He knows lots of people. He might be somebody either interested in this collection or know somebody who might be, right? So get to establish those relationships and understand what people like. Document those things, and then cultivate those relationships. Tiger and I have done a lot of stuff with peace dollars and mercury dimes, and going through and looking at varieties and errors and changing back and forth to our own, both of our benefits, right? But in each step, neither one of us really comes out in the advantage. And so have friendships and relationships where it's built on integrity, loyalty, and trust. And you'll do good. You'll do good.
I agree.
Well, it is almost time. Tiger, do you have any closing remarks or anything for the chat?
Well, mainly keep your eyes open, your ears open. As best you can, verify everything. Leave messages for your loved ones. If they're not interested, leave them a death letter like I'm doing. Protect your family, even despite themselves. Because it was taught to me by my dad that the mark of a good husband, the mark of a good father, is to prepare his family for his ultimate demise. My wife recently looked at me and says, why are you talking about that? I said, I've been talking about that since I married you. She looked at me and says, you're right. I've been preparing for my demise because I want her to be able to survive, and hopefully my grandsons as well. So do the same for your family. You won't be upset that you did. It kind of sucks thinking about yourself as being mortal, but when you look at it from that standpoint, everyone wins. So that's my final thought on this matter.
I appreciate that, Tiger. Great insight. All right, folks. Well, the time has come to say fair's fair. To say the rest, we said our share. You know how that song goes. But I appreciate everybody that's come in. Hopefully this was important enough. Hope this was valuable for you. If it was, do me a favor. Share it out. Share it with your... Joe likes gold and silver. I was already sub. Why did it not let me talk? I'm not sure. How you doing, Joe likes gold and silver? Thank you for being here. Not sure that why that was. Interesting. I'll have to check. Yeah, my subscriber count didn't go off, and you've been there for I don't know how long, but yeah, I'm not sure. That is strange. So, but yeah, again, if you liked this topic and you think it's valuable, share it with your friends. Help them to understand what's going on. I will finish the sheet that I showed you guys, and then I will be putting that into my community page again next week. Oh, I don't know why it does that. I'll change that. It should be 1 minute, not 5 minutes. I'll go in and check and figure out why it's doing that. Shouldn't be that long. But I will say this, Yankee Stacker's going live in 30 minutes. So do me a favor, go over, say hi to Yankee, let him know that Stack-A-Lector, Frosty and Tiger sent you over to say hi.
And make sure you tell him that his wheel is rigged.
Yeah. Joe, I do the 1 minute to keep a lot of the bots out, because the bots, if they don't get any response or they don't get a kickback, the bots will usually leave after a minute. So Yankee banned you from his channel. I don't know why that would be. Interesting. But go say hi, go check that out. OC's a member of Rig Nation. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, Joe like Silver. I'll check that. It shouldn't happen again. I apologize for that. But unfortunately, there's nothing I can do on the YouTube side. But from my end, I'll make sure that all the subscribers are able to chat. So if it was something I did, I'll make sure to rectify that. All right, folks. Well, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Make sure you're smashing that like on the way out. And if you're not already, subscribe not only to this channel, but to Tiger Stackers as well. And we will see you guys in the stream. Take care.